There we go. Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6:04 p.m. Ms. Bell, can we have a roll call, please?
Good evening, everyone. Trustee Ojapinti.
Here.
Trustee Salahuddin.
Here.
Trustee Ian Garrett. Program. Trustee Lee.
Here.
President Tejada.
Here. Okay. Can we get approval of the agenda? You have one change?
Yes. So there is one small change to the agenda. The attachment to item 6A1, approval of tentative agreement with American Federation of Teachers Local 1481, includes the salary schedule for Daly City Youth Health Center management. That salary schedule should have been attached to item 6A2, approval of salary schedules for unrepresented employees. Okay?
Approve agenda with the change as noted by Superintendent Presta.
Nick has his hand up.
Nick, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I have a quick question request. I have a couple questions about some of the job descriptions. If we could pull items 4A22 and 4A23 and 4A21. So 4A2, that item.
4A2122.
For discussion. Yeah. If we can pull it for discussion. Yeah.
Okay. So,
Aye. Just on the consent agenda before, I know we have some changes, but I also just wanted to talk or speak to the resignations that we have on there. We have two significant resignations, and I know Ms. Casey spoke about that. What was that? Speak up? Oh, okay. Sorry. I will speak louder. I know that Ms. Casey had spoke about we were going to see some really hard resignations that are coming through, and she wasn't lying, because when I looked at the personnel report, I was really shocked. So, you know, I don't want to call them specifically out until, you know, but at the same time, I do just want to say that these are people who, you know, I always get concerned when this type of teacher leaves or this type of employee leaves that's holding up a particular department or a particular extracurricular, and whether that extracurricular will be able to continue if that after the person departs. And that we rely so much on our staff here, and then I know that salary is one of the biggest things of why people are leaving, and so this is why I'm so dedicated to spending an insane amount of time trying to find more revenue for the district, is because this is who we are as a school district. This is the thing that students join for, is those types of activities that these particular teachers support, you know. So once we lose those, we lose some of the things that make our district attractive. So I just want to call those out, and, you know, I'm sorry for any employees lost, but I totally understand. You know, I can't ask people to be nuns and, like, feel like they're giving us any opportunity for personal happiness or wealth or, you know, to serve our community. That's a terrible act. So just wanted to say that. So with that, I just move to approve consent with the items pulled for discussion. Aye.
Aye.
let's start with item 4A21, clinical psychologist intern. Mr. Ojapinti, what clarification did you need? Mr. Ojapinti, can you hear me?
Yeah, just to address what, in the chat, Alyssa Jenkins just pointed out, I'm not on camera because my Zoom crashed about 3 times just logging in. So I'm calling in by the phone, but I am here. So thank you for noticing I am here. Appreciate it.
Do you see the chat? Okay. All right, so, Mr. Ochapente, what questions do you have about the clinical psychologist intern job description?
Yeah, just some points of clarification. When I was reviewing it, I noticed one that it's asking for, can you hear me? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you. So I was noticing that in the job description, that they're to be PhD candidates, or should they already have a PhD? That's my first question. And then the second would just be just a note on language in terms of the position, the physical demands, just keeping in mind ADA compliance, that if they're required to walk, maybe instead phrasing that in terms of requirement to move or traverse, just an ADA compliance language. But those are my 2 questions, or my one note and the other one, the question. Should they have a PhD already, or should they already be a PhD candidate, or would they be able to have a master's? Thank you.
That's a good question, and I'm happy to speak to the requirements. If they would be PhD candidates who do not currently hold their PhD.
You have to come closer.
Bring your computer if you need to.
Is this better? Okay. So the question regarding the PhD would be PhD candidates, so they would not currently hold a PhD, so they would still be students at this time.
And then for in regards to the other one, I think that's a good call out, saying be able to move or traverse instead of physically walk.
We can definitely make that update.
Was there anything else, Mr. Ochapente?
No, I think that answers it. Yeah, I think just going through the language, I think just combing through it, and that would be, sounds good to me. I'm glad we're having, this position be obviously authorized and moving forward with it, since we're moving forward with wellness in all these ways. So good to see that we're pulling people on board. And that's all in fact. Thank you.
And then now on to school psychologist, clinical therapist job description, Mr. Ochapente.
Yeah, there's just similar concerns across the different descriptions. That was it, just to mirror that across the language. Thanks.
Absolutely. Happy to make that update.
And then for job description for the school psychologist intern, is that the same concern?
Yeah. I think just uniform across when we're looking at, in general too, I think we probably have this language in other positions that we've already posted in the past, just for consistency and maybe future reference. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So move to approve 4A21, 4A22, and 4A23 with those changes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Now we're moving on to public comment.
We have one public comment tonight, and we can have the speaker come up, and just want to remind you have allotted 3 minutes to speak. And the speaker we have tonight is Alyssa Jenkins.
Yeah, cool. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Cool. Okay. So I just wanted to talk briefly. I wanted to give you guys an update on what it's like to teach in hybrid. So it's basically the worst of both worlds. It's totally necessary. I'm happy to see the students. I'm glad I can see the students, but it's really hard because you have kids in front of you, but you can't really interact with them because you have kids on the camera, but you can't really act with them because you have kids in person. And nobody can take off their mask to get a drink of water or whatever, or do all the things that you normally would be able to do from home. And the reason this is significant is that I don't really have to explain this to the people that are in the board meeting in person, because you're kind of living it, right? You're on Zoom, but you're in person, but you're on Zoom. And so you have all the technical glitches of your Zoom crashes, your Wi-Fi goes down or whatever. But at the same time, you can't fully enjoy the in-person. So I wanted to thank those of you who are in person, because it makes me as a teacher feel like you are in solidarity with our school staff, like you really understand what this experience is like. And then what Ms. Salahadin was saying about the key resignations. So one of the ones that's not on the personnel action report is a resignation involving our leadership teacher. So not only are we losing our band director, but we're also losing our leadership teacher. And this is all about money. This is all about our salaries are lagging so far behind. So I'm very, very grateful that the board has pursued expanding our pool of finances as best as we can, monetizing that land that we own. And I have to ask, if there's a board member who both voted for that development project and then is backing away from that development project, who are you siding with? Because your staff needs you, your union jobs need you, your students need you to stand in solidarity with the staff that's so grossly underpaid, so that we can monetize the one resource that we truly do have that is able to be monetized, and that is our land up at Serramonte. So that redevelopment project is a positive good. It's a positive good because all housing is good housing. Even market rate housing, when it's high density on a transit line, the way this housing is, it increases the supply, which offsets some of the demand, which adds to rent stability for everybody. On top of that, it provides more green spaces than currently exist on that property. It provides spaces for small businesses. It provides more of a neighborhood for those high density houses across the street from Serramonte Del Rey. It's a positive good, and one that we desperately need financially, but also for our community. So I'd like to urge all board members to please continue to support the Serramonte Del Rey revitalization, because if you're not on the side of that project, whose side are you on? Thank you.
For your comment. Thank you. And that's all the public comment we have for today. All right, thank you. Move on to our action items. Human Resources, it's approval of tentative agreement with American Federation of Teachers Local 1481.
Good evening, President Tejada, members of the board. It is recommended that the board approve the proposed tentative agreement and the accompanying salary schedules for all the listed units that are represented by AFT 1481. Day school certificated, operational school services, business and instructional support services, adult school certificated, substitute teachers, and walk-on coaches. The tentative agreement is a one-year agreement. It provides for an ongoing 2% salary increase retroactive to July 1st, 2020.
Approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And thank you for all your work on this. We are very, very appreciative of the joint collective team, both on our administrative and our union side. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On to item 6A2, approval of salary schedules for unrepresented employees.
Good evening again. It is recommended that the board approve the proposed salary schedules for management and for confidential employees. The proposed salary schedule provides increases to unrepresented employees equal to those provided to the employees represented by AFT 1481.
Move to approve the salary schedule for the unrepresented employees.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Let's see, consideration of future agenda items. Do we have any?
Yes. So I had spoken to Superintendent Presta about bringing to the next board meeting we have a MOU with the Daly City Police. So we don't have we don't pay for the resource officer, but we have a standing MOU, and I would just like to have a discussion about the MOU and whether or not we continue to work with the Daly City Police for issues that are not specifically tied to our legal requirement to involve law enforcement. I'm really dismayed about, after the last 2 city council meetings, on the lack of policy that's still not being put in place, as it'll take 4 to 6 months to get body cameras and cameras for their vehicles. I don't understand why it's going to take that long. And again, it's not followed with any policy or procedure. They're leaving it up to the police department to come up with their own policy. And part of that, what was stated at the meeting, was that the camera is not on all the time. It gets triggered when they pull their gun from their holster. But as we know, with George Floyd, stuff happens without guns. So I wish that there was more community involvement in the policy. I wish they would be more open to hearing from other people. I don't understand what's taking them so long. And so until they get some stuff together, I mean, like, I drove here, and a Daly City police officer followed me for 4 blocks, and I was terrified. So I don't know what our students are feeling when they're on campus, and they walk on a certain school, and 2 cars, sometimes 2 cars are sitting right there. And, you know, we're talking about safe spaces. They need to demonstrate that they can provide safe spaces. So, I mean, I'm willing to have conversations with them ongoing to see what we can do to build that trust. But right now, I don't have faith in them right now. So I feel like I would like to discuss our ongoing relationship.
Get on to the next agenda.
Mr. Pinty has his hand up.
Dr. Pinty?
Yeah, one, I just like to echo concerns and, recommendation or suggestion by Trustee Saluding. I have been at the city council meetings throughout the majority the last 6 to 9 months, and I can say the same thing. You know, there's been a lack of due diligence in terms of addressing police violence, in terms of addressing the police budget, in terms of addressing the impacts it has on our district and the community, not just of our students and families, but our district, our community as a whole. And I think our role as a school district is to make sure that we're clear on that policy on our campuses and to support a lot of the calls from the community, including a lot of our students who have actively spoken up and really been brave enough to protest and even support the family of Roger Allen, who was the man who was shot and killed on April 7th. And so in addressing these things, I think in a forthcoming way and as public officials, I think at the very least, our school boards here in our area should be, creating some foundation for that. And if I could look to anybody, I think in a community, I think school districts could provide some foundation for guiding new public policy around police accountability, transparency, and of course, really the public process around supporting our students and all their needs and restorative justice on our campuses. And I agree, I don't think we should have police on campuses. That is something that I believe we reviewed, and I asked Dr. DeLoya last summer about, which she did express some policy that basically supported the fact that we do not have, we shouldn't have school resource officers or school liaison officers on our campuses. But yeah, I would like to see that brought up, so I support that. Also, I think just to echo some of the more proactive policies we can be looking at too is our district's work on ethnic studies and where our students have been voicing those concerns. And in terms of education, that supports that. I know it is the end of the year. It is May. And as a teacher, I'm in the classroom too, doing what I can online. And it's going to be a very busy 2 weeks and with graduation. So wherever our district feels comfortable, I feel like maybe sometime in June. I have a feeling it's going to be a busy summer as well. But if we can get an ethnic studies update, and as one of the people on the race and equity subcommittee, yeah, I would like to be a part of that as well. But if Superintendent Presta can direct, find some way to work with whoever is working on that and see if they're available sometime in June maybe, or whenever we can get the most input from people when the district feels they have time for that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think asking for a timeline. We had a presentation about ethnic studies, but maybe getting a timeline on it, like where you guys are. I don't know if it needs to be a full I don't know if you have the capacity to do a full presentation, but maybe, because we are asked about ethnic studies a lot as school board members, so that we have a response and can give a set expectation. about where we are with that study. And I know that Jefferson Elementary has just implemented part of their ethnic studies program focusing on Pacific Islander and Philan studies. So I don't know, we may not need to like recreate the wheel. Can we reach out to them and see what they've done and see what we could pull? So, yeah. And then the last thing is that I know we were supposed to have a summer retreat, maybe and to go over your goals and also to talk about governance. And, you know, I would love to get that on the calendar so that I can purchase my Disneyland tickets around it. So, those tickets are gone. I don't want to have to not come to the meeting because I'm not going to, that's the one thing that I will give a board meeting for. Thank you.
Buy it already?
Yeah, well, I bought one set, but I don't want to buy more until, yeah, Marvel Camp is open.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Adjourn.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.